going on, everybody? We're the Wrestling Buddies, and we are here. Well, we're here to present. Mike is here to present basically his top 10 matches of the decade. I didn't make a list because I don't fucking like making lists. And that just seems a little too daunting, but I'll be here to bounce off Mike, probably insert my opinion here and there, and maybe something will pop into my brain at one point or another. Did I already? Mike, Bryce, Wrestling Buddies, here we are. Let's do this shit.
All right. So I have a question for you. Should I... Ooh, excuse you, Rick. I'm gonna go from 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. This is always a bone of contention with these types of shows. Should I do honorable mentions first or last? Last?
I like it last because that way it's a clean slate. We don't know what's on your list. If you list off your honorables now, then that stuff's not on your list. You know what I mean?
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. All right, so let's jump right into it.
Starting at 10.
Number 10 for me is, let me check real quick because I'm pretty sure it's the only one on this list. So it is the only NXT match on my top 10.
Interesting.
And it's a women's match. But it's not the one I bet everybody's expecting. It is not Bayley and Sasha at TakeOver Brooklyn. It's not 2 out of 3 fall, or what's it called now? 2 out of 3 falls. It's not the Iron Man match either. Mm. This is, in my opinion, the actual start to this fucking women's revolution that's being talked about so much now in wrestling. Because it's not just WWE. It is Impact. The women were a big part of Lucha Underground. AEW is trying to make their women a big thing. There's more women on the indie scene right now wrestling at a high level than ever before.
Can I guess the match?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, keep doing your intro.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait. Yeah.
So.
Oh wait. So you want to say it?
Yeah.
Oh, so I should write it down.
Write it down. This to me really did kick off this whole vibe of, oh shit, women can wrestle. They're not just doing cat fights. They're not, quote unquote, fighting like divas. Mm-hmm. These girls went out there and tore the fucking house down, in my opinion. And that match is Paige versus Emma from NXT Arrival.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Oh, really? What did you think it was?
I don't know. By the way you were talking about it, although, like, I don't know, just like maybe.
Let me guess what you put?
Yeah.
Charlotte and Natty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
Because you know I fucking love Charlotte.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Paige and Emma at NXT Arrival. We watched this show. It was the first streaming special on the WWE Network. I think this might be the oldest match on my list. Oh, no, it's close. It's close. I didn't actually put years. I just put the show that it was on.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was one of those things where, like, I had been watching NXT on Hulu because I actually subscribed to Hulu specifically to watch NXT. So I got to see the initial world title tournament and Seth Rollins winning the title and Big E and the Bo Dallas era. I got to see all that stuff as it happened. Mm-hmm. And I got to see the rise of Emma and Paige. So when the first special happened on the network and it was those girls for the title, I was like, this is probably going to be pretty good. But they kind of hadn't really transitioned into quote-unquote not wrestling like divas yet. Mm-hmm. They were still kind of had the brakes on them at that point in NXT. And this was the thing that fucking knocked the wheels loose. Because there was a fucking sit-out powerbomb. And now you'll see that in every women's match. But I remember specifically, you and I were like, they did a fucking running Liger bomb? What the hell? This really did, like, they don't get credit. Because everybody wants to use revisionist history and say it was the Give Divas a Chance thing, the hashtag, and yes, that probably happened because the NXT women were doing amazing things.
Yeah.
People will even say, like you thought I was going to say, that it was Charlotte versus Natty at NXT. Rival? Just Rival. Because I think it was the next special.
Was it?
Yeah, because Paige had to drop the belt right after.
Are you sure they didn't just wrestle on like just a random NXT episode?
No, it was a special.
Was it? Okay.
It was one of the when they were doing it during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a phenomenal match, and if you haven't seen it, go to that WWE Network and watch that first NXT special, because the product is completely different than it is now from then. But that match, to me, I've actually...
Did you go back and watch
most of these matches I've gone back and watched.
Okay.
There's a few I didn't because I didn't need to.
Yeah.
But this one I went back and watched, and man, it's still good.
February 17th, 2014.
Yes, that was this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Charlotte and Natty was...
I don't know.
Post-Mania. Because shortly after that, Paige debuted on the main roster.
Yeah.
After April that year.
I have to be honest. I don't know that I could even remember them. I remember the stuff that you're saying, but it's been a bit since I've seen that match. So
it still holds up, and it's an awesome match. And that's my only... Oh, no, it's not my only NXT match. There's a couple on here. Okay, that's right. But yeah, that's number 10.
Okay.
And it was almost an honorable mention, but I was like, oh, no. This really was the catalyst for what the women are doing now. And I know Tennille Dashwood is in TNA now. Emma is in TNA. She's not even TNA anymore. Impact Wrestling now. And I haven't seen any of that stuff because it's on a channel I don't have now.
What are they on now?
Access TV.
Right.
But yeah, man. We both thought that those two women were going to be the flag bearers for a while. And then when they brought Emma to the main roster, they kind of fucking shit the bed with her. And then Paige was really hot for a while. And then started getting random nagging injuries. And then the big one.
Yeah.
So it's just such a bummer because those two girls don't get the credit that they deserve for being the catalyst, I believe, for what's going on with women nowadays.
They definitely should get more.
So that's number 10. Number 9. Just kidding.
To be honest, I didn't see anything, but I could see. I saw honorable mention clearly, but I didn't see any matches. So be careful.
Number 9 is AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns from Extreme Rules, whatever year that was.
That's recent, right?
Yeah, I mean, since AJ came into company, I think it's one of the first things he did.
Oh, one of the first things he did.
I think so.
Okay.
It's an Extreme Rules show. But AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns. I am a huge Roman Reigns fan.
16.
Is it 16?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is newer than that. It wasn't as soon as he came in, was it? Yeah, it was as soon as he came in.
Probably right around when he came in. Huh?
I really, really like Roman Reigns, and and we've talked about it. AJ Styles is a favorite of both of ours because he's one of those guys that has completely reinvented himself whenever his character starts to get stale.
Yeah, that's right when he came in.
And he
Rumble.
He reinvents himself and changes his whole character from being like going all the way back to 2001 in WCW when he was just white meat babyface in the Cruiserweight Tag Team division to continuing the white meat babyface in TNA to turning heel when the crowd started to turn on him for being such a gee golly.
Yeah.
And becoming a really good heel and just going back and forth and changing ever so slightly every time and becoming something different. Chris Jericho gets a lot of credit for that. The Undertaker gets a lot of credit for that. I don't think AJ Styles gets enough credit for that specific thing. And I remember being super pumped when this match got announced and this whole feud got announced because as a fan of Roman Reigns, as a fan of fucking Leaki from Florida Championship Wrestling, because I was watching that shit, I was super excited for the asshole marks that didn't like Roman Reigns because he's too good looking and he's too big and he's just a cookie cutter guy from the WWE system. I was really excited for those people to see what he could do with a guy like AJ Styles. And of course, as predictable as those people are, AJ Styles got all the credit. When Roman Reigns had a feud with Daniel Bryan got all the credit. When Roman had a feud with Cena, they actually gave Cena all the credit, even though they hate him more than
It's always going to be that way.
It's always going to be that way. And Roman Reigns is one of the most underrated fucking guys to come along in the last decade.
Yeah.
And this match showed me that not only can he work that AJ Styles style of match, but this is what proved that AJ could work the WWE style of match.
Yeah.
And do it so fucking well. And it's such an amazing match.
I don't remember it, but yeah. I'm just being honest. I
got you.
I don't recall it. AJ Styles, you prefer him. I prefer him as a heel.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, he's way better heel.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
He's a good babyface.
Yeah, he can be, but he for some reason something happens with him.
Fucking punch him in the face.
Right, and when he's a babyface, he teeters that line too much of just being like, you're a dork.
Miz.
You know? Yeah.
Similar to Miz but pulls it off.
Yeah.
But he's on that line a little too much.
Yeah.
All right, that's number 9. Number 8, I thought for some reason I only had one NXT match on here, but I have a few actually.
Yeah, what the hell?
This next one, and I know you're gonna be with me on this. Okay, it's American Alpha versus the Revival from Takeover Dallas.
That was insane. That match was insane.
Yeah.
I want the Revival just to go back to NXT so bad. Like, fuck.
I want them to take Chad Gable seriously.
Yeah,
I like the idea that they're trying to do with him right now. But I get it.
Why can't?
But yeah.
Why can't he still just be Chad Gable? Call him Shorty G. That's fine. But can it be a nickname? Why does he have to be Shorty G all the? I don't know. Just sometimes they just go too far with stuff.
So the American Alpha versus the Revival is the epitome of tag team wrestling for me, because it felt like the Hart Foundation versus the Brainbusters.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like the Rockers and the Brainbusters, or the Rockers and the Hart Foundation, or Midnight's versus Rock and Rolls.
Right.
Like, that is fucking tag team wrestling. And the way that nothing felt stagey or pre-planned, double heat on the baby faces, cutting them off mid hot comeback and hot tag a couple of times, like, it is everything tag team wrestling should be.
Mm-hmm. It's a great match. Alpha took the win on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
That's when Alpha won the tag titles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Poor Jason Jordan.
I know, man.
I think he's got like an injury that's just kept him out.
It's
right?
his neck. Yeah. And he's an agent.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes now, which is great because he's great at putting together matches.
Yeah.
And I would love to see what he has his hands in. You know?
Yeah.
I really would love to see.
That's a good pick.
So that's my number 8. My number 7 is Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne from TakeOver Chicago.
Those guys do some crazy things, and especially when they do them together.
Yeah.
Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne are the future of the business.
Oh, I always say it, man. Like, Austin Theory, Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, Velveteen Dream. Mm-hmm. Dude, wrestling's going to be fine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wrestling's going to be good for the next decade.
Yep.
But Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne got me emotionally invested in a type of match that I generally don't care for, because they did a lot in that match. A lot. Too much by my standards. But the way they did it and where they put that stuff, and when Pete Dunne finally finishes off Tyler Bate and becomes the NXT or the WWE UK champion at the time, and holds that belt for 600 days until Walter?
Yeah.
So, like, those two guys, man, are on a whole other level and carry themselves with a poise and a confidence that you're not going to find in a 22 and 24-year-old. In any business. Yeah. In any business.
It's crazy that they do and they've done what they've done at their age.
He was 19
when he
won the UK title.
Yeah, Tyler Bate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love those guys, and I generally love anything that they're a part of, wrestling-wise, because they really do take like, everybody always talks about, like, wrestling's evolved and it's a different style now, and you just have to get over that there's less storytelling. I point you to Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
I point you to Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano, even though I think they do too much. I point you to Tommaso Ciampa. Yes, wrestling has evolved, but you always need a story.
You have to
always need a reason.
If there's no story, it just doesn't matter. Like, you know, I mean, that's something that you hear a lot of criticism with you know, a lot of the people that were like indie darlings or whatever. Yeah. I'm not trying to call out AEW, but like, that was a big concern with AEW when it first started, was like, okay, you've got all these guys that are good workers and they can wrestle, but You know, and NXT too, and any company.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, like, you just put good wrestler A against good wrestler B, and they have a match. It's like,
with no conflict.
Maybe
for no reason.
Right. Maybe the match would be good, but you kind of start to lose interest, you know?
Right.
I think I said this to Dan Herman, I think it was during Raw. Yeah, during Raw. And I believe specifically it was, when Mysterio went to the back and started beating the shit out of Andrade this last week. On Andrade, I'm like, it feels so awesome for a feud right now to have some fucking balls behind it. You know what I mean? Like, that like...
Did you see the backlash about that?
No.
Well, we're obviously not getting the mask versus hair match now.
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you fucking mean?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here with that
Why
shit.
do people want that all the time so much? Like...
And we are going to get that fucking match, you guys. That's going to happen.
I don't give a fuck if we get it or we don't. Bottom line, it's
got some fucking teeth and some balls.
It's not just this person won number one contenders match and is now facing this person. Like, there's actually a few feuds, I think, happening on Raw right now that have that behind it. And it's nice to see. So story makes all the difference in the world.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to pitch this in here because I don't think it's on your list because we already talked about it, but something I probably would definitely have on the list is Tyler Bate and Walter.
Yeah, not on my list. I like that match a lot.
The match was fucking insane.
It's really, really good, but it's not on my list. But it's a good match. It's a really good match. But yeah, man, if you want, I understand when people say like we were talking about it with video games. It's I don't want story in my games. I just turn the volume off. Like,
yeah. All right.
Like, okay, I mean, I don't think I could watch a wrestling match. I have when I was training to actually watch the body language and see if they can tell the same story without the commentators leading it along. And there are a few matches that can do that.
Yeah.
But you need a story for me. Like, I don't think that just throwing... I don't want to use AEW guys because that would be fucking terrible. Okay, I don't want Shawn Michaels to come out of retirement and wrestle Adam Cole just cuz.
Yeah, there's got to be more to them.
You know what I mean?
I mean, the spectacle of it would be awesome.
But there have to be some teeth to it.
Yeah.
Why do I care about that match? Mm-hmm. Why do I care about Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa? Because of everything that led up to it. From the Dusty Classic to the Cruiserweight Championship Series or whatever it was. Yeah, Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah.
To them never getting the titles or winning the titles and losing the titles and then them splitting up. Like, the reason I cared about that final match was because of the 18 months of setup.
Right. And that made it that much sweeter once you get to the payout. Like, it... Yeah.
Yep.
You can't just have... There's got to be more meat to the matches than just it being like a 5-star whatever the hell you want to call it. Right. I don't want to do that Dave Meltzer bullshit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. That was number 7? Yes. Number...
Really?
Yeah.
Wasn't that just number 8?
2, 3, 4. No, I've done 4.
You've done that many matches already?
Yeah. Paige and Emma.
Okay.
Reigns and AJ.
Okay.
American Alpha.
Okay.
And The Revival.
Okay.
Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne.
Gotcha.
All right.
We've been doing this all day,
yes. So number 6. A match that I'm kind of shocked didn't make my top 5. But I really do think that things post this have soured me on a performer in the match. Mm-hmm. But it is John Cena versus CM Punk for the title in Chicago.
Was that on Raw?
No. Money in the Bank. When Punk walked out with the belt.
Yeah.
And left with the title when his contract was up.
That was such a good...
God, that was such a good match, man.
And just that whole story was so fucking
Until they ruined it and he showed up the next week on Raw. When he should have been gone!
He should have been gone longer.
For longer than a fucking week, man.
The fan in me that wanted... See, I can't even think of words in phrase. That wanted instant gratification was excited that he was there. Yeah. But I know how much better of a story it would have been. Because I'm trying to think, like, at that point... Mm-hmm. What did we know about Punk? Like, was it reported that he had signed a new deal?
I don't know if anybody had reported it, but it had seemed that way because he, ambushed the Comic-Con thing.
Right.
So it wasn't like he was gone from the company.
Yeah.
But they could have done like what they did with Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
And made it seem like he wasn't a part of the company for at least a month, man.
I think a story...
At least till the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. I think a story had to have come out that he'd signed a new deal or at least like something.
Let him wrestle at AAW in Chicago with the championship, even though John and Ray just had this amazing match on Raw to crown a new champion.
They could have done so much more.
Yeah. But yeah.
God, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
Good-ass match, man. Number 5.
What the hell was that?
I don't know.
Rick?
What?
Did you just rip one?
No, it's
Oh, the fridge. Like,
yeah.
It was like gurgly. I was like, what the hell?
Number 5, a match that should have main evented the show that it was on, but didn't. And then these two ended up main eventing the next major show they were on. And this one is Bayley and Sasha from TakeOver Brooklyn. They should have main evented that show. Kevin Owens and Finn Balor ladder match was fine, but it did not hold a candle.
Yeah, I think if I remember that show right, I think the crowd peaked during that match.
They peaked when Bayley almost killed herself with that reverse run off the top rope.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic match. It's a great story. Now, keep in mind that the majority of these matches, you can go watch them and enjoy them because the storytelling in the matches are that good. But it really would behoove you to go back and watch that entire build, man. And even though I was not a fan of the Iron Man match, I don't think it was as good.
Yeah, the video packages are helpful for that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. But yeah.
I don't think the Iron Man match was Iron Woman.
It was good.
Was
well, they themselves call it Iron Man.
Yeah.
They didn't want to call it an Iron Woman match with it, which I think is funny. It's a good match, but it shouldn't have main evented that show, and it was not better than the Brooklyn show, the match in Brooklyn. Yeah, I really, really, really liked that match, and I think similar to the CM Punk thing, actually opposite of the CM Punk thing, I didn't let the way I have come to feel about Sasha Banks affect my ranking of that match. I did at first, because it wasn't on my list at first. It was on my short list of things that I made, but then when I started looking, I started dragging it. Yeah, I like it. Yep, I like it better. Just in context of the match, and it just kept working its way up.
You soured on Sasha Banks?
Yeah.
Even after that special?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
I can talk about that later.
Okay.
I'll talk to you about that later. But yeah, man, that's an awesome match and a great story that's told. And I think that anybody, if you have somebody in your life that doesn't understand why you like wrestling, show them that match.
Yeah. That's a good, yeah. That's a good modern example, I'd say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Then number 4 is John Cena versus Daniel Bryan from SummerSlam 2013.
That was good.
With Daniel Bryan beating John Cena for the belt, but all of us knowing he's going to get screwed right after, and he did. But yeah, John Cena versus there's not much to say about it.
Yeah. How did you get screwed again?
Randy Orton cashed in Money in the Bank.
Yes.
Triple H pedigreed him. Randy Orton came out and cashed in Money in the Bank.
What? Rick is in the chat typing, and his name is John Cena.
Yeah, it's that stupid meme that went around.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I want to talk about this match more, but like that was the beginning of the build of Daniel, the groundswell.
Yeah.
From the fans of Daniel Bryan.
That was his first
title.
He
had won the World Heavyweight title.
Okay.
But it was his first WWE title.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I'm almost hoping it's not going to happen. I'm almost hoping at this point that Brock Lesnar wins the Rumble and we get a unification match at WrestleMania.
And the Fiend fucking destroys him. That'd be dope. Legit destroys him.
I mean, if anybody is supposed to be doing it, it could be the Fiend.
But yeah, that match is amazing. The build to it, and John Cena saying like, "Hey, I'm choosing my opponent for SummerSlam," and then him saying who it is, and Daniel Bryan like literally the two biggest guys are standing in front. It's like Big Show and Mark Henry, and they part because Daniel Bryan pushes them out of the way and starts walking down the ramp on Raw, and the crowd starts to fucking lose their minds, and the rafters are fucking shaking on the hard cam side. It's one of those moments. And Daniel Bryan has had a lot of those moments in the last decade where the rafters are fucking shaking for
He's a
him.
fucking superstar, man.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dan Herman about this the other day too, because we were watching NXT Live, and I think somebody else, like I told him that Cameron Grimes, I feel like could be a Daniel Bryan 2.0. What I mean by that is he's somebody that he doesn't have that traditional look. Daniel Bryan to me grew into his look.
Yeah.
So like Daniel Bryan did kind of look like a geek. Yeah, when he first comes in, he was really skinny.
He was more pale than skinny. He was probably
Pale.
190 pounds, no fat on his body.
Yeah.
But 190
like,
pounds, looked small.
He's developed a look over time, like with the hair, the beard. He got tanner, bigger. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying Cameron Grimes doesn't look like... I'm just saying you don't look at Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee or whatever, and automatically think like, oh, that guy's a wrestling superstar. But...
Then he does the fucking cave in from a dead standstill, and you're like, holy shit!
Yeah, so I comp him to Daniel Bryan because I think he's going to be that guy that's going to win the crowd over just off of what the fuck he does in the ring.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I just think if there ever was someone that was going to be like a Daniel Bryan 2.0, I think it could be him.
I say that about Chad Gable.
Yeah, I could see that with Chad Gable too. It's just they're fucking it up right now with Shorty G.
But they're cheering him and he's short. This is my point. Like,
I know.
The crowd is 100% behind him with this stupid thing.
Very true, very true.
Like that's But yeah, Trevor Lee is a great comparison, man.
I mean, even like just look at him right there. Like, it's fucking Daniel Bryan 2.0.
This is too funny, man. All right. Another moment Daniel Bryan was involved of, but not in the wrestling capacity. And this is my number 3 match of the decade. And this is sentimental reasons. This is because of one of the performers in it and how I feel personally about that performer.
Okay.
And it's from the Cruiserweight Classic.
Ah.
And it's Brian Kendrick versus Kota Ibushi.
That was a hell of a fucking match, man.
And it's not even just the match. It's after Kendrick takes that L. And Daniel Bryan... I'm fucking getting emotional about it. Like, Daniel Bryan leaves commentary and goes down and hugs his best friend. Like, that match and the build and that shit after is high-level wrestling. Yeah. Professional wrestling. And there are very few moments in the last decade or decades preceding it that match that moment in the ring with those two guys.
No.
After the match. After the fucking match.
Yeah.
Makes it on this list and because of it. And the match itself is amazing.
I'm a big Kota Ibushi fan.
Yeah.
I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, me too, man.
I mean, the guy, he's kind of, he's a little bit...
when he's reined in.
Yeah.
And not just big spot, big spot, big spot, big spot, big spot. But when he's reined in. And the match he had with TJ in the Cruiserweight Classic. And the match here with Kendrick in the Cruiserweight Classic. He is one of those guys that could easily... Like, it's so funny, like, I'm so bummed that Kenta never took off here.
Yeah. Because
he could not adjust. They don't give Shinsuke Nakamura the rope to adjust. God, I feel like Kota Ibushi is one of those guys that they'd have no choice but to push because he would adjust.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's a bit eccentric.
Yes.
I think he's got a reputation of not wanting to be tied down anywhere for too long. I mean, obviously he pretty much he works New Japan, but yeah, man, I like him a lot. That match was good. Wolf, it was Brian Kendrick and Kota Ibushi
from the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, that's. I feel like I have to stop myself. Like for some reason that feels like kind of a tongue twister, but it's not Kota Ibushi. Yeah. Anyways, from the Cruiserweight Classic. So
I went back and watched that match again and watched that post match and watched the post match interview they did in the back and like, dude, I was fucking crying.
Well, it's especially it's crazy now because now Brian's working again. Like Daniel Bryan wasn't wrestling at that time. He wasn't cleared yet.
On the shelf.
So it's even more, because like you're feeling, because I think this was Daniel Bryan's almost like first appearance. I think it was. Yeah, him being involved with that was.
It was the same summer that he was told he couldn't do anything anymore, and he wanted to sit at home, but they were like, "Please come and do this."
Yeah, and so he came back and he did that, and then now he's back wrestling.
Yeah,
good shit.
But yeah, Brian Kendrick. Even though he's admittedly said he was an asshole. At the time, I knew him in the early to mid 2000s, but he was always a guy that fucking told it to you straight, didn't sugarcoat anything, and was willing to help. And yeah, I got really emotional then. I got really emotional watching it again a couple weeks ago, and I almost got really fucking emotional right now talking about it. So that's a moment that you'll be hard pressed to find anything better than.
I never got the vibe of him being an asshole, but I didn't have like a ton of interaction with him though. I just got the worker shake, and that was about it.
Number 2, I'm cheating a little bit, but I think you'll understand why.
Okay.
Match number 2 is Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. So not just the main event, not just him and Triple H.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30.
All right.
I
guess I'll accept that.
I just talked about being hard pressed to find another moment that hits you with that much emotion. But here we go. When he exits the ring after the match and hugs Connor McCulloch.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm fucking done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I get it, man.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, he's that kind of performer. Like, I remember being crushed when he announced his retirement.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I was just like, and then that picture of him with Brie in the back where he's just like crying.
Yep.
I'm like, no. Like, it's a lot, and that's how Daniel Bryan has connected with the audience, and yeah, that's a good moment.
He's a special talent. He's a once-in-a-generation talent. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yeah. Trained by another once-in-a-lifetime talent.
I'll fight anybody that says anything different about Daniel Bryan, and I don't even know the guy.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. So that's...
But I mean, seriously, like, isn't that crazy? Like, Shawn Michaels trained him, got him started, and look at what came out.
Yeah, and Brian Kendrick. Same with him.
Yeah.
Like, same school, same class, same everything.
What a class.
Yeah, and there was guys in that class that never got a real fair shake.
Yeah.
That also should have. But that's number 2. And number 1, to me, is not just the best wrestling match of the decade. To me, it is the best professional wrestling match I've ever seen, full stop. And this is super divisive. And I know it is. But it's Undertaker versus Triple H from WrestleMania 27.
Yeah. I'm like, why is your list familiar? And I forgot you sent me your list.
Yeah.
That's right.
Triple H Undertaker versus WrestleMania 27. It's the only time up until and including his 2 losses at WrestleMania, it is the only time ever where I thought, here's where they break the streak.
Yeah.
It's over.
That was number 1?
First one. Technically it was 2, but it was number 1 of the successive matches.
Okay.
Number 1 was at 17 or 18. That was right. Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yes, it was Shawn 25 and 26, Hunter 27, 28, and then Punk, and then Brock.
Yeah.
So, like I said, up until including Taker's 2 losses at Mania, this was the only time as a fucking grown-ass man where I dropped the remote on the floor and looked at my friends that were there with me and said, that's it, the streak's broken. And it's when...
I had to be
you were there.
Yeah.
You were there. It was when he hit Taker with the tombstone. I said, that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
It was great while it lasted. This is the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen in my life. Holy shit, he kicked out. And that made it even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I could name another wrestling match in my 30 years of watching wrestling and then going back and watching wrestling from way before my time that I can say is better than Triple H and Undertaker.
It was a hell of a fucking match.
I know people say Shawn and Taker at 26. Some even say Shawn and Taker at 25.
Both those matches are phenomenal.
They're fucking fantastic. But for me, it's Taker and Triple H from 27.
The story, refresh me. Shawn Michaels has never beaten The Undertaker, right? Or was it just he just couldn't do it at WrestleMania? I don't even know.
I think he technically won their first Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
I think
you might be right.
But I think because Kane came in and tombstoned him.
Yeah.
I think that was Kane's debut, and I'm pretty sure Shawn pinned him. Pretty sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, I don't have any arguments, man. Like you weren't gonna see me.
I know.
There's matches that I would probably put on. Like I told you when you shared this list before, which I think is funny. Like, don't cheat. And I'm like, I actually forgot. I'm like, oh wait,
I know. I
knew
you
right
forgot.
here.
That's why I was. Still
I got the list right
on
here.
guard here.
But I told you that I probably would add Shinsuke Nakamura and Sami Zayn.
Right.
I fucking love that debut. I miss that Shinsuke Nakamura.
Do you know why that doesn't even sniff my list? That match happened with a week and a half of build and for no fucking reason.
I hear you, but
that's my point. That's my whole point of everything on this list.
I got.
It's a great match.
But it's just like I watched that match twice. When it was over, I watched it again. Like I fucking loved that match. I was so pumped for Shinsuke to debut, and they fucking killed it. And I want that Shinsuke back. Yeah. I don't want the outfit you're wearing. I don't want you to wear the bell bottomy fucking. I want you to wear the
tight
fucking
pants.
boots, the tighter pant. Yeah. Like it's the look. Hey, Mike and I. We've talked about wrestling all the time to each other.
We pay way too much attention to gear and how the gear fits people.
And anyone that's listened to Wrestling Buddies before, you can make fun of us all you want, but color of tights, fit of tights, it makes a fucking difference.
It does. It really does.
It makes a difference. But yeah, that off the top of my head, I would have. Walter Tyler Bate would be on there. Shinsuke Sami Zayn would be on there. I don't know. I don't want to keep going beyond.
Right. Because then you're almost making a list.
Because then I don't want to do it.
All right.
Do it. No.
So, honorable mentions.
Nope.
The first time I sent this to you, there was only one thing on here. But since then, I've added things. But I'll get to that. So, the first honorable mention is an amazing match that doesn't happen in any major company that maybe 150 people, 200 people saw live. We were a part of that crew. And it is Bryan, the American Dragon Danielson, versus Roderick Strong from PWG7. I was gonna go to that show anyway because somebody I met in wrestling I consider a friend was calling it quits that night. So I was gonna be there.
Alice got lost.
Period. And I'm pretty sure you were going to be the one to come with me, whether this thing happened or not. Yeah. Then when Daniel Bryan got let go, and Bryan Danielson emerged back on the indie scene for that 2 or 3 months or whatever it was, and they announced that he was going to wrestle at PWG7, we were like, that's it, we're going no matter what. The vibe in that arena. The vibe in that room that's not much bigger than the room we're in now. I won't call it an arena. The fucking neckties flying into the ring as streamers instead of streamers. Yeah. The match itself with Roddy and Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson's speech after proved that he could talk and that he just wasn't getting a chance to talk or speak like himself. Yeah. Everything about that show was awesome because of the specter of Scott Lost's last match around it, and Bryan Danielson coming back in, and Paul London and El Generico and all those guys being on the show, and
so many guys that are on contracts now.
Yeah, a lot of that card, and guess what? The guys on that card that aren't in WWE, most of them are in AEW now. Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, the vibe in that fucking sweatbox was amazing. And that's one of the, again, Daniel Bryan. How about that? Daniel Bryan in another moment.
Daniel Bryan might be the star of your list, man.
I'm getting there. And then the next two things I'm going to lump together similarly to the way I lumped in Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. And it's Austin Aries' 2012.
Okay.
That's the year that
Impact.
He won the
TNA.
X Division Championship. Then cashed it in to face the world champion, who was Bobby Roode at the time. And they were doing the "you're too small, you'll never be world champion, and you can't cut it" with the heavyweights. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind at the time that Robert Roode was maybe 210. He wasn't as big then as he is now.
Right.
But they went out there and had a fucking classic match at Destination X. Fucking culminating with Austin Aries winning the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Amazing story. Spectacularly done. Amazing wrestling match. And it all meant something.
Yeah. Was that the same year that he was thinking about walking away?
That was the first time, yeah.
Okay.
The first time he was considering walking away. Cut to a few months later. TNA Sacrifice. You may have beat Robert Roode, but you can't hang with the heavyweights. You're too small. You suck. Austin Aries versus Bully Ray at TNA Sacrifice. It's another one where it just fucking hit on all cylinders and continued that story. And before Daniel Bryan was the all-conquering hero underdog, it was Austin Aries in TNA, man.
It just Austin Aries, it just seems like is a prick, though.
Yeah.
From what we've heard. Although I don't know if some of that's been blown out of proportion, but yeah.
And it's again moments that you remember and moments you don't forget. And that Austin Aries' 2012 is one of the best years any wrestler has ever had. I just wish more people were watching.
Yeah, I don't think I was, or I was from afar. I don't remember. But yeah.
Those are honorable mentions. And I don't think I have anything else I really want to say. Oh, Wrestler of the Decade. Surprise, surprise. It's fucking Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Wrestler of the fucking decade. And similar to what I said earlier about anybody saying anything different about him being the best wrestler at that time, anybody tells me any different or that anybody had a better 2010 to 2019 than fucking Daniel Bryan, I'll fight you over it. Because nobody did.
I don't think... There's no argument.
Nope.
You can't make an argument. Like, Daniel Bryan was this last decade's, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin, essentially. You know? Like, if you were going to say what star was made in the last decade, like, who became a Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin level superstar? Daniel Bryan.
Yep. And keep in mind, you know what else almost made this list? Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns from No Way Out between the Rumble that Roman won and the Mania that Roman ended up winning the title at.
Yeah.
That almost made it. And actually, Roman didn't win the title that year. That was him and Brock, and that was Seth Rollins cashing in.
Yeah.
That match was almost on this list because that match is that fucking good. But yeah, Daniel Bryan is Wrestler of the Decade, man.
Has to be. And, you know, if things didn't go wrong, or if someone loses passion, the other person that we could have maybe been talking about is CM Punk.
Yeah, maybe.
But
see, I think he had a better 2000 to 2010.
Yeah, but I just mean...
Yeah, I hear you.
If things kept going on that trajectory from Money in the Bank...
Yes.
Like, because right then, he was absolutely, like, the Steve Austin of fucking wrestling. So... Yeah, it's Daniel Bryan. Shut up, Rick.
All right. Here's two other honorable mentions I'm going to throw out there right now off the top of my head. I don't think I think they're both from 2010 and forward. This is for funnies.
Okay.
But this is also two of my absolute favorite things ever in wrestling. It's Zack Ryder versus Santino Marella from Main Event.
I was going to try to see if I could source this, but I might have a hard time finding it.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Yeah.
It's Santino Marella hits the Cobra on both of Zack Ryder's legs so he can't do the Rough Rider, and Zack Ryder sells them like his leg. It's one of the goofiest things in wrestling, but it is also one of my favorite things. And the other one, runner-up for Wrestler of the Decade, Santino Marella versus Heath Slater from Saturday Morning Slam, where they have a fucking tickle fight.
I knew that was going to be on there.
So good! So good.
Saturday Morning Slam.
Short-lived.
Wasn't Mick Foley commentating on that?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's my list. My top 10 favorite wrestling matches of the decade. Some cool honorable mentions. Some goofy honorable mentions. But
Yeah.
I'm being legit about that Zack Ryder Santino match. I can never find it when I look for it anymore. But he fucking straight up cobras both of Zack Ryder's legs. And Zack sells it like he can't walk.
Main event.
I think it's either main event or Superstars.
Okay. I'm pulling up a Santino versus Zack Ryder from Bragging Rights, but that's not
No,
it.
this was a syndicated show. And every time I even look for it, specifically what happens in that match, I can never find it. But it's real, and it exists. It's an actual thing. It's not a fever dream.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for this.
Yeah, so I don't have a list. I gave you 2 matches. I said Tyler Bate and Walter and Sami Zayn and Shinsuke, and those were 2 matches not on your list. So I guess I kind of made something. But yeah, that's going to wrap this up. That's Mike's best matches of the decade. I guess representing the Wrestling Buddies since I didn't really offer anything up. And I mean, yeah, that's really it. I guess, at some point you guys will see us down the road.
Yeah. But yeah, hey man, if you want to check out other content, we talk about video games and other random bullshit on this channel. If you're into audio versions of podcasts, search SSWL Network on pretty much any podcast feed you use, and it'll pop up. But yeah, man. Out of the stands and into your face. We are the Wrestling Buddies.